You're watching Talk Talk, presented by United Auto Sales. And a good evening. Thanks for joining us here with Gamecock Chalk Talk. Corey Miller, J.C. Sherbert here with you to talk about the Gamecocks' big win at home, high noon on Saturday against UCF. Struggled the first half, but found a way to put it together in the second half to get the victory. And J.C. Sherbert, 24/7 Sports, the Big Spur, now joins me. A good win. Nonetheless, we knew what UCF was coming up here with, a decimated offense, guys that were suspended, an offensive line that hadn't really played much, but defense, they had a good defensive line. They played solid the first half, but struggled in the second half. But nonetheless, we can kind of drop all these excuses if we want to, but the South Carolina Gamecocks got to 500 with a 31-14 victory.
Yeah, and that's the bottom line, Corey. And I was impressed with Lorenzo Nunez. I was impressed with the job G.A. Mangus, the quarterbacks coach at South Carolina, did calling the plays. I thought the offense actually was in a better rhythm than it had been at any point this year in the game against UCF. We've described it as a dumpster fire before. Certainly there were plays where the play clock got low. Certainly not every play was beautiful, but it was very good and cohesive to have a true freshman quarterback out there. This offense has a chance with Lorenzo Nunez out there and with the system that they're trying to run with him out there, with the emphasis on the run game and, some passes thrown in here or there. I think South Carolina was probably staring a disastrous season in the face had they not made this switch on offense. Now I think at least they have a chance, provided the defense can continue to improve. And hey, put a half of football together. That very bad UCF offense looked a little like the Green Bay Packers on a couple of drives on Saturday.
They sure did.
So I don't think that it's anything to crow about, no pun intended, in terms of the Gamecock defensive performance against a very bad, terrible offensive football team.
I wasn't impressed at all with the defense. I thought they struggled. I thought this team, they should have really had 0 on the scoreboard. I thought that's how bad UCF was. But back to Nunez, I was really impressed with him. I thought Spurrier should have stayed with him the whole time. I didn't even like the fact that he brought, the quarterback in, Perry Orr, for a series or so, because this guy got better as he played. And one thing, as you mentioned, he can do, he can improvise. He can make plays with his legs. That Connor Shaw-esque, hold your roll, slow your roll. I'm not saying he's Connor Shaw, but he did put 123 yards rushing against his team. He had 76 against Georgia on the road. So he has that, what we call an X factor, JC. And I think with him, they're going to be a better offense. Now, that being said, it's still UCF. I can't get this out of my mind. I told fans this via Twitter. This is a big win, but they were expected to win. They were favored, 17 points in this ball game?
Exactly, yeah. 15-17 was the line all week. I picked them to win 35-7. Mm-hmm. I think that there are some concerns when you look at the game and you look at the tape. Bo Schneider, the UCF quarterback, another true freshman, sort of like Nunez, not nearly the skill set Lorenzo Nunez has. Basically sat there and kind of picked them apart for a while. There's still issues in the secondary. The defensive line is inconsistent. They did a better job of stopping the run.
Right.
But I tell you, it's going to be more challenging this weekend at Missouri on both sides of the ball, period.
Well, again, I'm going to stay right here because I think this is going to get overinflated because this is a bad UCF team, a Gamecock team that was more talented. Now, to get ready to head to Mizzou, a different story. We'll get to that a little later on. But right now, let's hear from the ball coach after the game. And I think surprised that Lorenzo Nunez threw the ball better than expected.
Their D-line is one of the best we'll play against. And finally we started running the ball, though, in the third, fourth quarter. We tried a little bit early, didn't do any good. Pharaoh made one crucial mistake, but he got 2 touchdowns back for us. Lorenzo Nunez, he actually threw the ball a little bit better, I think, than everybody thought, and played very well. The defense it played well, and we should play well. And hopefully this will tell our guys we can play defense. We got good players. T.J. Holloman, of course, got a game ball with his 2 big picks. We were in trouble at halftime, but I basically just told our guys whoever plays the best second half is going to win the game, and we played the best the second half. So it was a good win for us.
Well, let's get defensive, shall we? Let's talk some Gamecock defense. They played well in the second half. Again, it's kind of the same old book we've been reading. They did well in one half and played better in the second half. Well, the same thing happened against UCF. Now, JC, one thing that being a former defensive player, I understand one thing. You got to play it with emotion. You got to tackle well. You got to get there in a bad move. You got to have a bad move when you go hit somebody. And I thought the moves that they made with Holloman and TJ going to the mic was a good move. He's a bigger guy. When you're playing running teams, he's going to be able to get better fits than Sky Moore. Yes, Sky's athletic. He can move around. I like what they call that kid, Boosie or whatever. He made some plays at the end. But, again, how much do I say he's a good player when I know what they were playing against with the offensive line? So I have a mixed bag of feelings with this defense. I didn't still see a juggernaut defense go out there and then shut this bad UCF offense down that barely could score points against Furman. So when you're being realistic, I'm going to say, and I'm going to err on the side that this defense is still one of the worst in the country. Bad football team they played, bad results, even again.
I agree with you to a certain extent. I don't think they're one of the worst in the country from a talent standpoint. I just think they've had trouble getting their talent on the field. I think Chris Lamons is a player that they missed terribly in the secondary. I think that DJ Smith is one of the most underutilized players on the team. You watch him when he gets an opportunity in a game situation, Corey, he's physical, he's big, he can cover. It's been that way since the Kentucky game last year when he got a targeting penalty. Then he got to sit out the first half of the next game and then mysteriously never played. They moved him to corner. You know, this guy needs to get on the field as far as I can see. I don't know if he doesn't learn the plays or what the situation is, but he's better than some of the guys they're playing in the secondary right now. As far as Boozy Whitlow goes, I liked what I saw out of him. He's been productive again when given the opportunity. He's a really hard-working kid, but he's 220 pounds right now. He's going to be better than he is now, but he's producing when he's in there more so than David Johnson or Cedric Cooper, which in my opinion are not SEC players.
But isn't this a problem, though? We talked about that, again, 220, and you're going to play defensive end. They tried to do that same thing with Bryson Allen Williams last year. That did not work. I mean, this guy's a linebacker. They recruit him as a linebacker. He's an undersized defensive end. I mean, when you play good football teams with good linemen, that's not going to happen. That's what I'm saying. I think if you're a realistic fan, you're going to say, hey, okay, this is probably one of the worst offensive lines in the country. I mean, because they're so young. They're playing new guys. So, and I told them to slow your roll because this is who they're playing. Could he do this against Clemson, Florida, Tennessee, LSU? Are we going to get production at that position in those games is what I'm looking at.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, you have no choice because Cedric Cooper and David Johnson are both converted linebackers as well. And this all gets back to recruiting and talent level and the fact that the Gamecocks are terribly thin at some positions when they really shouldn't be. You have Jadeveon Clowney. You have Melvin Ingram. You have Travion Robertson. You have Cliff Matthews. You have guys that are in the NFL, Devin Taylor, that have gone through this program and that are playing on Sundays, and you come up with David Johnson and Cedric Cooper as your starting defensive ends in year 11 of a tenure. That's recruiting failure. That's why Boozy Whitlow has to play. Shameik Blackshear has to play because the other guys aren't any good.
Right. You got to have guys ready to rock and roll. Well, Lorenzo Ward spoke to the media after the game about his defense.
Well, when you evaluate the first 3 ball games, we wasn't getting the productivity that we needed from the wheel linebacker spot. So that's why we moved Sky there. And TJ's been a good football player, but he was playing behind Sky the whole time. The reason he hadn't played, so had to get you got to get your best players on the field. Well, anytime you can win after losing 2 ball games in a row, it's big, it's huge, because it plays mentally on the coaches play mentally on the kids. So you got to play with confidence, and when no matter who you play, if you win, it's definitely big after you lost 2 ball games in a row.
Let's talk Mizzou football. Mizzou struggling like South Carolina. They struggled against Kentucky last week, lost the game. Maddie Mock is not playing well. The offense has been sputtering. Defensively, though, they're one of the best in the country. South Carolina has to go on the road. The Battle of the Mayor's Cup, it's been always an interesting football game, and I think it will be interesting this time, JC. But I just been thinking about it, and I'm an alumnus, and I hope South Carolina win the rest of their games. But I'm a realist. When I look at the SEC, I see Vanderbilt, Mizzou, and South Carolina, 3 teams that are fighting for the last spot. I mean, overall, the East and West, I think South Carolina's in that bubble, one of the worst teams in the SEC, along with Missouri and Vanderbilt. And they got to play both of them teams, and they can move up. They got to play Florida, who's on the outside of that too. So right now, I just think what I've seen offensively with a freshman quarterback on the road, Brandon Wiles out, a defense sputtering, I mean, it's going to be a tough game.
It's going to be challenging because it's on the road. If this game were in Columbia, South Carolina, I'd probably pick the Gamecocks to win.
Exactly.
But going on the road with a true freshman quarterback against a defense that's very good this year is going to be a challenge. Here's the thing. Missouri has not played a tough schedule at all. In fact, they're 3-1. They've beaten Southeast Missouri. They struggled on the road at Arkansas State, who is bad, and then they struggled against Connecticut and almost lost. It was 9-6, would have gone into overtime had the Huskies not tried a ill-advised fake field goal, and then they lost to Kentucky. So Missouri's out to prove something too. Matty Mock, though, a veteran quarterback. Russell Hansbrough, probably should be getting back to healthy. And you mentioned their defense. Their defense is ranked, I think, 6th in the country in yards per game. Very good unit. Barry Odom was a defensive coordinator at Memphis last year. He's a Missouri alum. He came back, joined that staff. He's done an excellent job. It's just a tough road to hoe going on the road with a true freshman quarterback and generating points against that defense. Now, on the other hand, I don't have a lot of faith that South Carolina can stop any team that's better than UCF on a consistent basis until they prove it. And Missouri does have some players that can make some things happen. Matty Mock's not an ideal quarterback, but he can scramble around, make some plays, make some throws. So South Carolina's got its work cut out for it this weekend just because it is on the road. I'll say this, though. If they can find a way to win this game, it's 3-2. You're halfway to a bowl. Then you got to beat Vanderbilt, which is not a given. You got to beat the Citadel, and then find one other win to go bowling for another good year. And I think if this team can get to a bowl, that's a tremendous season for South Carolina. And then you worry about what happens with the future with the program after that. But for this team, I think that getting to a bowl game will be a tremendous accomplishment.
So you picking Mizzou?
I am picking Missouri to win by field goal.
All right. Well, here's my keys to the game real quick before we get out of here. If South Carolina can win this game, this is what they have to do. They must establish the run game. No Brandon Wiles going to be tough. David Williams struggling. Sean Carson, who knows? They must run the football on the road. Number 2, they got to put pressure on Mark and contain him. He's a guy that's a dual threat guy. He got an arm, but he can also run it, meaning those third downs could be crucial. If you don't contain him with a pass rush, then he's going to get first downs. And number 3, what could be critical? Special teams play, because that's been crucial in those games before, whether it be a missed or made field goal. So if special teams can happen there for the Gamecocks, they might win this football game. But that being said, before we get out of here, I'm taking Columbia, Missouri to win over the Gamecocks. I'm sorry, but I just don't see them winning with the freshmen and the way they're playing defense. We got to get out of here. That's a wrap for us. Thanks for joining Gamecock Chalk Talk. For J.C. Sherbert, Eberlyn Pennycuff, Rachel, and Brian Hand, we say thank you and have a great night.